Avatar: The Last Airbender has always been one of my favourite shows. Its world feels alive. I love the spiritual depth, the character development, and the traditional martial arts. But there's this one scene that's always stuck with me. In season 1, there are two koi fish, the moon and the ocean spirits, that swim together in a pond at the centre of a frozen island. I've always thought that this is such a beautiful image. It's peaceful, symbolic, and a little bit mysterious. So I wanted to recreate this idea in an aquascape form. An island in the middle of the tank, with a pond at the top where the fish can swim up. This is the Spirit Oasis. This scene in Avatar is set in the Northern Water Tribe, where everything is carved out of ice. So for the scape, I went with Weo's Grey Fossil Woodstone. The white and grey tones look closest to an actual iceberg. To make the little circular viewing platform, or the pond, I got creative. I cut a ring out of an old pot plant carrier and glued little pieces of stone around it using toilet paper as a binder and Dilua liquid aquascaping glue. It actually formed a perfect little circle, but it also left me with a whole lot of black plastic I had to then figure out how to hide. At this point, I wasn't generally too sure what my plan was. I thought maybe I needed to build a bigger outer ring and then somehow connect the two with soil. But instead of getting stuck in the details, I decided to work from the ground up and let the design make sense as I went. This meant adding my sand, which is Weo's Heaven Sand, and getting the foundations of the island set. But working with large awkward stone that doesn't sit right is hard. So instead I decided to give them little feet by gluing smaller, flatter stones underneath so that they could actually stand up on their own. Once everything had some stability, I played around with the layout and tested my circular rock form, kind of like placing a little tiara on the scape to see if it fit the vibe. Spoiler, it didn't. Every position meant that I had to add a whole other layer of tiny stones just to hide that plastic, and I barely had any space left to work with. So I ditched the whole idea and just accepted my fate. I'd have to build the whole top section freehand and pray it looked like a circle at the end. And that's exactly what I did, using smaller rocks I built a barrier across the front, along the back, and then shaped a rough circle in the middle to form that pond. This is how the structure ended up looking, and from here I just needed something to hold the aqua soil that was going to be going on either side of the pond, here and here. I ended up using these little net bags, and honestly they worked way better than I expected. I cut them up, pushed them into the gaps, and filled them with aqua soil. Then I trimmed off the extra netting around the edges. To lock everything in place, I used a generous amount of liquid glue along the borders and repeated the same thing on the other side. This way the bag sits partially in the water, which is perfect because the moss I'm planning to cover them with will stay moist and grow over the whole structure. Now that the hardscape was finally done, I did actually need moss. I could have used aquarium moss, but I really wanted that instant fluffy terrestrial finished look, so naturally I went hunting in the car park. The driveway had basically nothing, just a few sad scraps. So I tried my luck out the back where the staff park. And thank God I did, because I found the moss jackpot. Absolute premium, car park aged. We're the tested moss right here. I grabbed just enough for the scape, and feeling very snug about my newly discovered secret moss supply, I headed back into the studio to clean it. Jesus, stop it! Just wanted a little... Okay, alright, that's not... Hey, you're not being cool right now, dude. I gave it a rinse, and once I cut it to size and laid it over the soil, the effect was instant. The whole island absolutely came to life. When I think of the Spirit Oasis, I can't imagine that there'd be any plants around in the icebergs. It's all icy, it's peaceful, it's kind of sacred. But if I left the bottom of my tank completely bare, it would look sad. And with no plants down there, algae would just have a field day. I decided to add some plants to the base of my icebergs. I went with dwarf hairgrass tissue culture, I rinsed off the agar, split it into tiny portions, and then tried to plant one. Immediately realized I didn't have enough sand. If I filled the tank like that, they'd all float up to the surface like dead bodies. So I had to add another 2 centimeters of sand and then successfully planted the carpet. Much better. This tank was going to live on the shop floor with the other display tanks in hopes that someone might buy it. So I moved her into place, added some crushed stone for texture, and filled her up. Once it was full, I checked the water height of the pond, and yes, it actually worked. The water sat perfectly where it was supposed to. It's the little things, you know? The little victories. For the sides of the tank, I added some mini Vallisneria. It's perfect for this scape. It's long, flowy, adds texture to the bottom half, and hides those awkward bare corners that every aquascaper pretends doesn't exist. In the real Spirit Oasis, that is, in the episode, there are shrubs and plants in the very middle behind the little wooden archway. So to recreate that, I grabbed some terrestrial plants that we have in store. I washed the soil off their roots and wedged them in between the rock and the glass. They'll be very happy there, and they'll help keep the water crystal clear. I hunted down the smallest filter and heater that we had and installed them. For lighting, I originally wanted to use Delua's new WRGB lights, but because of the terrestrial plants, I needed a bit more height, so I stole the light from next door and found a replacement for it. Problem solved. Even though you wouldn't look at this tank and instantly go, ah yes, the Northern Water Tribe, obviously, I think I did nail the layout. The little island, the raised viewing pond, the whole tiny little oasis but make an aquarium friendly vibe is definitely there. For a resident, I'm thinking a small female betta, a black one, and a subtle nod to the ocean spirit after the moon spirit gets absolutely yeeted in season 1. She can just vibe in a little sacred pond and judge customers as they walk past. The moss actually looks ridiculously good, like suspiciously good, as if I actually knew what I was doing the whole time, which we both know is a lie, but I'll take the win. It might not scream Avatar at first glance, but it's got the same energy, a tiny, mossy Spirit Oasis sitting right in the shop. Thanks for watching.